Tonight, Lars von Trier offers us some sexual healing in Nymphomaniac Volumes 1 and 2.
We get an animated history lesson in Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
And Nick Frost dusts off his dancing shoes in Cuban Fury. Hello.
Good evening.
Also tonight, we find out what light through yonder window breaks in Romeo and Juliet.
And we join a final roundup in John Huston's The Misfits. But first, Margaret, why didn't you get us dancing with Cuban Fury?
Well, Nick Frost was the force behind Cuban Fury. He had the idea, which was turned into a screenplay by John Brown, and he stars as Bruce, a former child star of the salsa dancing world who was bullied so traumatically on the eve of potentially his greatest success that he's never danced since. He works in an engineering company with immediate boss Drew, Chris O'Dowd, regularly taking him down. And then he literally bumps into the new American boss, Julia, Rashida Jones, and discovers that she too likes salsa. With Drew in hot pursuit of Julia, Bruce goes back to his old mentor, Ian McShane, to get back in the groove.
What do you want from me, Garrett?
Nothing. Passing. Wondered if you're still teaching. Oh, okay. Just 'cause I'm looking for a lesson.
You taking the piss?
No, not just one lesson. Blow away the cobwebs. What do you reckon?
I reckon salsa's for pussies. Isn't that what you said?
Did I?
Oh, yeah. You did.
I don't really remember that, because I was just a kid.
And what are you now?
I'm a man.
Oh, you think so, do you?
It's certain. It's hot in here, isn't it?
We'll see. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. sharp. £5 on the door, and I want to see you in 1 1/4-inch heels.
Brilliant.
There's something a bit pathetic about this film, particularly in light of the way the dances are shot. Nick Frost is no salsa dancer, and it shows. It is such a cliched screenplay from John Brown. You know where it's going from the get-go. No surprises and no real wit. Nick Frost is a talent, but maybe not in the role of story idea and star. The person who emerges from this best is Kayvan Novak as Bruce's fellow salsa dancer and supporter, Bejan. Flatly directed, straight road to a conclusion, it makes you realise what a great dance movie Silver Linings Playbook was, because the dance was only context, a frame for what was really happening. David?
It is disappointing, this. I mean, I really enjoyed the comedies that Nick Frost made with Simon Pegg. I mean, they were great fun.
Yes.
And this, on his own, at least in this vehicle, it really seems flat. And what is really remarkable is how a very engaging personality like Chris O'Dowd, given this part, can be so boring and so
I think you've got to blame John Brown's screenplay for that one.
Sure, but it's also the way
you can
Chris
only do
O'Dowd
what you're
plays
given.
him, you know. I mean, it's just such a... Every time he's on screen, it sort of drags the film down.
But it's almost like, you know, Nick Frost wanting to see himself as a romantic leading man.
And that's very unconvincing. I think the romance is singularly unconvincing.
Yeah, and it's sort of like sweet of him, but I mean, it needed more invention rather than this straight, you know, loser to winner arc.
Yeah. I mean, there are a few jokes, but not really enough.
Bejan's pretty good.
He's all right, yes, in a conventional sort of way.
But I'm only giving this 2 stars. I feel quite mean.
Well, I'm as mean as you. I'm giving it 2 as well.
All right, bum flap, let's settle this like men. Winner takes Julia.
What about HR?
What happens at lunch stays at lunch.
Cuban Fury is currently screening nationally. Our next film is Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Mr. Peabody, voiced by Ty Burrell, is an all-knowing dog, while Sherman, Max Charles, is the small boy he has adopted. The judge reckoned that if a boy could adopt a dog, then a dog could adopt a boy, a contention typical of the film's logic. Mr. Peabody has a time machine in which he travels with Sherman back to the period just before the French Revolution to meet Marie Antoinette. When Sherman goes to school and is bullied by obnoxious Penny, Ariel Winter, Mr. Peabody responds by inviting Penny and her parents to dinner. Sherman and Penny sneak off to use the time machine, and before you know it, they're in ancient Egypt and Penny is unwillingly involved with King Tut.
It appears the boats of Ra are the key to our escape. Aha! Quickly, Sherman! Careful, Sherman.
It's a booby trap. One wrong step and we're done for.
The boat of Ra sails straight today. Take the wrong boat, man will pay. All right, Sherman, now it's your turn.
The boat of Ra sails straight play. Pay.
Oh my.
Uh-oh.
Run! Sherman, get in the boat. Sherman?
Mr. Peabody!
What are you doing over there?
I thought you wanted to this one!
Hang on!
Ah! Oh!
Sherman, are you all right?
I'm good.
This is a spin-off from the 1960s television series Rocky and Bullwinkle, and it's a pleasant, often amusing family film with lots of kid-friendly jokes and puns, but also plenty of references that will go over the heads of the smaller members of the audience. In their time travels, Mr. Peabody and Sherman get all mixed up with the space-time continuum and encounter, among others, Leonardo da Vinci and Albert Einstein, the latter voiced by Mel Brooks. There's an amusing meeting between 3 presidents, Washington, Lincoln, and Clinton, and even a visit to the beleaguered city of Troy. The animation is clever, the characters endearing, even schoolmistress Miss Grunion, voiced by Alison Janney, and the whole thing is very easy to take. Margaret.
It's sweet.
It is sweet.
I thought this was educational in a way, going back to
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I mean, this is why he does the time travel, to, make Sherman a very erudite little boy.
Yes.
When you say some things will go over the head of younger members of the audience, I have a feeling they went over my head, to tell you the truth.
So it was educating you too?
Yes. I thought it was really sweet. And actually, we've seen a couple of movies about adoption lately, and there's something very sweet about that whole scenario.
About
as
a
well.
dog adopting a little boy. Yes, I don't quite know how it works, but
when you're as intelligent as Mr. Peabody,
and he's
and loving,
yes,
it's about being able to say I love you as well. So I didn't mind sitting through this, so I think parents won't have to suffer too much.
I quite enjoyed sitting through it, actually.
Yes, so did I. So, look, I'd give it 3.5 stars.
And I would too, 3.5.
Delivery! Looking good, Diomedes. Menelaus, my man! My man. Are you ready to get on the field, Shermanus?
Sure thing, Mr. Agamemnon.
That's cute. Odysseus, what news do you bring?
Someone left this for us!
A present. Nice. It looks just like our horse.
Should I bring it inside?
It'd be rude not to.
Go!
I did not see that coming.
Greetings, men of Athens, Sparta, and Thebes. Peabody here.
Kill him!
No! He's my dad. It's an adoptive relationship.
Aww.
Mr. Peabody and Sherman opens around the country this week. Lars von Trier's epic 4-hour Nymphomaniac is framed by a dialectic between Seligman, Stellan Skarsgård, and Jo, Charlotte Gainsbourg, the woman he rescues from an alley near his home. She's been bashed. As she recovers in his pyjama top over a cup of tea, the story of her self-proclaimed sinful life is revealed. She has been, from an early age, voraciously and boldly promiscuous. Jo, in Volume 1, played by Stacey Martin, asks local moped rider Jerome, Shia LaBeouf, to put an end to her virginity. And then she and a school friend trawl a train in a competition to bed the most men on it.
What do I do?
Smile, make eye contact.
But what if it doesn't work?
If you have to talk, remember to ask lots of questions if you want more than a yes or no answer. Then it'll just happen on its own. You just take them to the lavatory and you have sex with them.
What if it's nasty?
Then you just think of the bag of chocolate sweeties.
Seligman's non-judgmental riffs into fly fishing, into Fibonacci numbers, into Eastern, Western religion are a counterpoint to Jo's frank descriptions of her encounters.
Happy Christmas, Fido.
I'm a fan of Lars von Trier. I think he has a boldness about his filmmaking that is admirable. But this venture into sexuality has such an undercurrent of sadism that I was not repelled, but distanced. I don't mind seeing sex on screen, erect penises, genitalia generally. I'm not easily offended. But I thought there was an intellectual showiness on display here, as well as, I hate to say it, a tediousness. Actual sex, and it's explicitly stated that none of the performers partook of the actual, is a bit of a yawn. So what is he trying to achieve here? Is it shock for shock's sake? Well, I don't think so. But what I do feel is that he hasn't imbued the film with enough intellectual weight to make it matter that much. Seligman's digressions seem self-indulgent, too abstruse to really have an impact on the narrative. Performances are solid and daring. Stacey Martin, particularly impressive as the young Jo. Jamie Bell, very convincing as an S&M therapist. And von Trier's current muse, Charlotte Gainsbourg, and his great ally, Skarsgård, are stoic.
Stoic, that's a good word. Look, as you know, I'm not a huge Lars von Trier fan.
I know.
So the prospect of a 4-hour Lars von Trier film was a bit daunting. But I found this interesting, not for the sex scenes, but because it seems to have more of Lars von Trier himself in it, talking about railing against political correctness, all the things that obsess him.
Yeah.
I think he sort of lays himself bare in this one. And although it's made in the same style that I don't like very much, what it does have is some terrific performances. I think Stacey Martin is very good. I think that a lot of, Jamie Bell, Billy Elliot as the S&M guy. I mean, this is a bit...
It's perverse.
It's a bit
I
perverse,
think he's a very perverse filmmaker, but I totally agree with you. I think he is exposing a lot of his grievances in this film.
And I think what's really... I've read somewhere, it's not my idea, I read somewhere that the character that Stellan Skarsgård rather unconvincingly plays, not that he's not a good actor, but just the character's a bit of a unconvincing character, is possibly Lars von Trier's idea of a critic, specifically a film critic, because every time...
He's a know-all.
He's a know-all, yeah. Every time that Jo talks about something, he knows more about it, and he goes into these long, waffly things, which are a bit boring, and sort of...
Well, they're interesting in themselves.
They are.
But it's sort of like how do they relate to
what she's saying
It's
and what
sort
her
of like there are
obsessions
two different narratives going on
Yeah.
here. But do you know, coming to grips with a Von Trier film is always challenging, always interesting. You've got to give him that.
It's not
as a
always
filmmaker.
interesting. Some of his films have been extremely
See, I
uninteresting.
think he exposes himself in just about every film he makes.
And usually it's not something you really want to see. But,
Oh, no,
but here I
au
thought it was
contraire.
interesting. Here I think it was interesting. But again, for every really good scene, there's a bow. Now, I'm sure we would argue about the scene with Uma Thurman as the outraged wife who brings her 3 sons along to look at the whore's bed. I mean, I thought that was a ridiculous scene.
I loved it.
Yeah, you see,
I
there you
didn't actually. It took me a moment to recognise that it was Uma Thurman, and I thought she's almost unrecognisable in it. She's really good.
I thought she was
rarely
dreadful.
gets
I thought she
a
was
role
dreadful
as.
in it. So you know, there we are. We come from very different points of view.
Look,
But
I
overall,
normally go, I'm going to give every Lars von Trier film 5 stars because
I
you
know,
give it
it's
0.
ridiculous.
But I'm going to go 3.5 on this one.
And that's the depressing thing, because I'm going 3.5 too. Nymphomaniac Volumes 1 and 2 opens in national limited release this week. And now for Romeo and Juliet. Shakespeare's timeless love story is given yet another screen interpretation, this time with the benefit of sumptuous location filming in and around Verona itself, but with the handicap of a text that's been amended and partly modernised by Julian Fellows. At least the young lovers look young, unlike Norma Shearer and Leslie Howard in the famous MGM version of the play. Haley Steinfeld, the spunky youngster in the Coen brothers' True Grit, is a convincing Juliet, while Douglas Booth is only adequate as Romeo. You all know the story. She's a Capulet, he's a Montague, and their families are in conflict.
Many have died in this place, Montague. Befriend their spirits while you still have time. They wait to welcome you with open arms.
They wait for one of us. That much is sure.
I think Baz Luhrmann's modernised 1996 version of this tragic love story still takes a lot of beating. And of course there's West Side Story. And I really couldn't stir up much interest in yet another dewy-eyed tale of star-crossed lovers. Thank goodness for Paul Giamatti, who at least makes the meddling friar a flesh-and-blood human being. The costumes are great, the settings are great, but really, so what?
It's still Romeo and Juliet, you know. There is something beautiful about it. It was shot in Verona. The atmosphere is fabulous. The settings are great.
Certainly you do. Yeah.
I like Romeo, you like Juliet. I thought he was...
I wonder why.
Douglas Booth was pretty good in the role. But the thing that kills this film is the music. Abel Korniewski's music is just...
Yeah, it's relentless, isn't it?
Oh, it's so over the top. It's sort of like, how could anybody not see that in the film? But, you know, there's something about this timeless love story.
Yeah, but how many more times are they going to make films of it?
Why would you bother making a fairly conservative version of the film?
And that's it.
After, you know, Baz has taken
This is
it
a
to
very
that
straight up
fabulous
and down
level.
version,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. No, look, it's a 3-star movie
Yeah.
for me.
I'm afraid we're agreeing again, 3 stars.
Oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. The brightness of her cheek would shame the stars as daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes, set in heaven, would give forth such light that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek.
Oh, me.
She speaks. Oh, speak again, bright angel.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo. Wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Romeo and Juliet opens around the country in limited release this week. I've chosen The Misfits for tonight's classic. It's a John Huston film from 1961, shot in black and white, starring Clark Gable, Marilyn Monroe, Montgomery Clift and Eli Wallach. Significantly, it was written by Arthur Miller, Monroe's husband at the time. It begins in Reno, Nevada, where people like Rosalind, the Monroe character, have come to get a divorce. Gay, Clark Gable, is a cowboy who keeps company with recently divorced women in town and carouses with his pilot friend Guido, Eli Wallach, who has met Rosalind and fancies her. But Guido doesn't have a chance once she meets Gay. They go out into the desert to Guido's home, which he abandoned after his wife died. They carouse some more in Reno, get horribly drunk. She's a magnet for everyone. Gay's just failed to connect with his kids. Everyone is vulnerable. Everyone is a misfit.
What if someday suddenly you turn around and you don't like me anymore? Like before, when I first got hurt, you start to give me a look. I know that look and it scares me, Gay. I couldn't be with strangers anymore.
Honey, I got a little mad, that's all. That don't mean I didn't like you. Didn't your papa ever spank you and then pick you up and give you a big hit? He did, didn't he?
I was never there long enough. Strangers spank me for keeps. Oh, Kid, love me, love me. We're made up now, okay?
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Let's get some sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, when we make out, I'd farm, run some cattle, maybe. I'm a pretty good man, Rosalind. Best man you'll ever see. I'll show you tomorrow up the mountain. Not many can keep up with old Gay. You wait and see.
Oh, this was the last film for both Gable and Monroe. He had a heart attack 2 days after filming finished, died 10 days later. She was to die some 18 months later. Montgomery Clift was dead 5 years later. In a way, this film is an elegy to three wonderful screen actors. Her vulnerability shows so palpably in the film. She was deeply troubled at the time. Miller wrote it for her in the throes of their breakup, and it shows. He was soon to marry one of the still's photographers on the film, Inga Morath. So this film is imbued by what is around it that can be discerned in it. Miller's vision of his beautiful, troubled wife, her drug and alcohol-fuelled sadness and vulnerability, and the very distinct and different styles of acting between the method of Clift and the seasoned professionalism of Gable. But what is truly magic, and most probably very John Huston, are the scenes with the horses. They're robust and absolutely heart-wrenching.
I remember very well when the film came out, and the fact that Clark Gable, you know, who had been a big star for 30 years, died perhaps as a result of the strenuous work on the film, because they were shooting in Nevada at 42 degrees centigrade, and he insisted on doing his own stunts, if indeed he did. And the pall hanging over the film when it first opened was, this is the film that killed Clark Gable.
Oh, yes,
and that's a terrible way for a film to open. And maybe because of that, it got very mixed reviews to begin with. Maybe it was seen because Arthur Miller's obviously a great American playwright. This was his first screenplay, and maybe it was a little bit overwritten, some people thought.
Well, I think there is really, I mean, he was on set. I think she was having an affair with someone else. I think there's a lot of bitterness, and particularly in the dialogue of the Eli Wallach character in Guido, that there's a lot of what Miller really thinks about a lot of things.
And she was also sick during the making. I mean, she had to stop for 2 weeks to go into detox and things like that. So it's a film which there's an awful lot going around it. And incidentally, Arthur Miller's final play, written 10 years ago, is really about The Misfits and the making of it. So looking at it now in sort of from that distance, it's a very powerful film, visually very powerful. Very sad to see these iconic actors at the end of their careers, far too early in the case of all of them, really.
But do you know those scenes with the horses, they're so extraordinary. I doubt that you would be allowed to film them the way they're being filmed these days, because, the horses are actually really badly treated in a lot of ways. But there is this one scene where the colt goes up and paws its mother.
I know.
But listen, it's not about the horses, it's about the actors, and they're all splendid. And I wanted you to see this scene with all four of them.
Well, how does that all come out? Well, 6 cents a pound would be about $110, $120. How do you want to cut it up? Any way you like. I'll take 50 for myself and the plane. Okay. I ought to have about 40 for the truck and me. That leaves 25 for you, Purse. Is that all right? Purse!
No, you fellas take it. I just came along for the ride anyway.
Heartbreaking, isn't it?
I'm bawling my eyes out watching it.
That was John Huston's The Misfits. And next week we'll be looking at George Stevens' Shane.
And that's the show for tonight, so good night from us.
Good night.